I'm going to show you how to make a loop knot. So it's pretty basic. You just take the two strings after you fold them and you're going to wrap it around your finger like this, and this is where you hold it in place and you're going to pull your finger out, pull the two ends through the loop and pull it. But when you pull it, you want to push that knot up close to the, almost like you're making a lasso. That's a perfect size, because in the end what's going to keep your bracelet or your necklace together is you're going to tie a bead on after you're done making your bracelet or necklace, and that bead is going to fit right through it. So you want a really tight, close fit as much as possible, just like that. So I'd say that is a really good size. Alright, so now you're ready to start your pattern. So grab a piece of tape, and what I like to do is tape the knot or the loop that you just made to the table. Okay, and you're going to choose two of your strings as the middle strings, or your support strings. So I'm gonna make this bracelet to be alternating colors. So I'm gonna choose green and yellow. Now I would recommend that you just take these and sit on them, put them under your leg and sit on them. Or if you're going to stand up and do this, you can step on the strings. But whatever you do, you need to make these two strings nice and tight. So just for the sake of this demo, I'm going to tape these strings down to the paper, just like that. But like I said, I would recommend that you just bring them, put them under your leg and sit on them. Okay, now we're ready to get started. So I would always start with the string on the right side, and you make a big capital letter D. Okay, now what I would recommend is that you pinch it with your right hand. Now this doesn't matter if you want to make the flat pattern or if you want to make the spiral pattern. At this point, you always start with the right side. So you take your string, capital letter D like this. Okay. Now with the string on the left, in one motion, you're going to go under that string, under the two strings that you have, your two support strings. Then you're going to pinch it like that. Now I can free my right hand, reach through that capital letter D, pull the string through, and then you just pull it tight. Just like that. Alright, now this is where you have to decide if you want the spiral pattern or the flat pattern. If it's the flat pattern, that you will alternate sides. If you're making the flat one, then your capital letter D now faces that way. Pinch it with your left hand around that one, under the two, pinch it, free my hand, reach through the D, pull it through, pull it tight. Now if you wanted the spiral pattern, that's easier because you always do the same side every time. So your capital letter D is always facing to the right. So you pinch it, and you do the same pattern over and over again. Wrap it around that one, under the two, pinch it, reach through, pull it through, and then pull it nice and tight. Okay, so I'm going to go over that just a couple more times so you see it up close. I'm going to do the capital letter D that way, pinch it, around that string on the yellow, under the two support strings, pinch it, reach through the D, pull it through, pull it tight. Okay, now if you want to add beads to this, I would recommend that you keep track of how many times you did the pattern, and then you would just put a bead through the two middle strings. So far I did that 3 times. So maybe you want to do it 10 times or 15 or maybe 20 times. But you'd keep track so you have a consistent pattern when you put the beads on through. But let me demonstrate a bead just so you can see it. Put the bead all the way up to the top, and then you just continue the pattern right around it, and that locks the bead in place. So, letter D, pinch it with your right hand, over, under, pinch it, pull it through. So again, to make it consistent, now maybe I would do this same pattern 10 or 15 times, another bead, 10 or 15 times, another bead, so you keep track. You would keep this pattern all the way down until it's comfortable and it's the right length around your wrist. That's when you can stop. Now if you wanted to make a necklace, same thing, except for your length is different. It's going to be a lot longer, so I would recommend at least 2 wingspans and a half distance rather than just 1 wingspan and a half. Now I'm going to show you how to finish off your bracelet. Now this isn't an example where you would get a very high score just because of all the gaps in here. That means they did not pull their strings tight every time. So you should not be able to see your support strings in between. So again, this isn't a very great example, but I just am showing you this just to show you what the end would be here. So to finish it off, you're going to find a bead that fits through the hoop. Again, nice and like a tight fit, comfortable fit. So you're going to put this bead through the 2 support strings. Okay. And then you're going to continue the pattern one more time around it just to lock that bead in place. Okay. So now the bead is now set. So now you take all 4 of these strings, the 2 support strings, along with the 2 outer strings, and you're going to do that loop knot again that I showed you earlier. So you go like that, put all those strings, pull it through, and same thing we did before. You have to push that knot up close to that bead, and then pull as tight as you can. Now, any extra strings you have, you can just chop that off with the scissors, and then you are done. That bead now holds that wraps around your wrist and would keep it in place and not fall out of your bracelet. I've got 4 different examples here to show you what a good bracelet, what might be a 4, considered a 3, and 2, and a 1. When you do the pattern and the idea is you want to pull it tight every time so you have a nice consistent pattern and that there's no gaps in between, so you cannot see the 2 supporting strings.
Hold that real still. I'm going to zoom in real quick. Okay.
This is an example of what I would give a 4, because you can see the consistent pattern all the way through, and I like how they have a bead and it's consistent, every consistent pattern all the way around. Now I think it would have been even nicer if they would have even chose the colors in a repeating pattern, but that's just my opinion. But again, this might be considered a 4. This is an example of a flat pattern. This is the spiral pattern, so you can see a little bit of the difference. But the flat pattern, you can see some of the supporting pattern in between. So they did not pull it tight every time. However, it is still consistent. So when they did pull it, at least they were consistent around it. So although this is not perfect, I still give this one a 3 in the 3 range. Let's see, this is a really nice consistent pattern as well for the spiral, but there's no beads. There's no beads on this one either, but this one I think is also considered in the 3 or 4 category. And then last but not least, you remember this demonstration, this example I showed you when I demonstrated to tie on the big bead. So a couple things. This one, notice the huge loop on that? That's why I had to use this big honking bead for it. So I just don't think this is a very good, it would have looked a lot nicer if this was smaller. Notice the length of this. I don't know whose wrist this is going around, but certainly isn't large enough for a human, a grown-up, my size. And then last but not least, look at those gaps in between. Okay, so when you pull it, those strings, you want to make sure you pull it tight every time. So those gaps, the small loop, or the big loop, I mean, and just the short size would be, the short length would be down in the 2 or the 1 category. So you have an idea what I'm expecting.